I had Logan Paul on
10
my
million.
podcast.
Would Logan do it with me?
Logan would kick your ass, I think. You're riding a fantastic wave. How could you not make some mistakes along the way?
How can you be for small government and then have the government dictate all these things in your personal life, right? You idiots. You got it completely wrong.
Can't you just wake up and stop? I was walking down the hallway like a darted bull with a needle sticking out of my ass.
Tell me the 5 steps to the gauge the point where someone like you would say, I want this guy in my life. I want to help this guy. All right, JB here, the Wolf of Wall Street, in a modified version of the Wolf's Den here because of the coronavirus lockdown. I was in my apartment, cooped up, ready to jump out the window because I'm just not the sort of guy you can coop up and contain in one spot for too long, no matter how great the company. Point is, I had to get somewhere to a house, so here I am. I rented a house for a week down by San Diego, and guess what? Instead of my normal monologue where I'll go 15, 20 minutes, today, because I'm in San Diego, got a very special guest, an old friend of mine who lives down here. I asked him to come as long as we socially distance. So we're distant.
6 feet apart.
We're
6 feet apart.
You know, he tried to kiss me. I ran away when he came in. Anyway, I got Mike Koenigs here. I'll shake. Boom. Elbow bump.
Boom.
What's up,
Virtual
brother?
bump. Good
Mike,
to be here.
So Mike is really just someone I have massive respect for in the industry of self-development, because he's not really in self-development. He's an actual businessman. And I think the first thing I said when I met you, I said, wow, like you're a different breed, because everyone's into the whole smoke and mirrors and inner game, and you really were very much into processes, and you were very far ahead in terms of, you were one of the first people really in online marketing, blazing the trail there, right? But I want to just ask you a question, given the times. Yeah. I have a thesis, and I want to know whether or not you agree with me. I believe that at times like these, when you have these doomsday scenarios, or like, the earth shatters, there's a tilt in the axis, or a paradigm.
It's Armageddon, man. It's Armageddon.
Right? Armageddon. I believe these are the times when the greatest opportunities present themselves. What do you believe?
Totally.
What say you?
So, first of all, I absolutely 100% agree. I think right now there are a whole bunch of zombie businesses and industries that were already dead. And this is the tipping point. There's a whole bunch of businesses that are never going to recover from this. And all this, just to say, I feel compassion and empathy for anyone who's getting hurt during this time. And right now is the greatest opportunity for being creative, innovative, rethinking about fulfillment, development, and also how you manage teams and how you collaborate. And I think some of the greatest fortunes are going to be made as a result of what's going on right now. It's going to cause, think about what's happening with television, for example. Saturday Night Live did a virtual show, first time in history. You got Conan O'Brien and all the guys on TV doing things differently. Every part of life, think about it. We're being attacked by an alien. It's like being attacked by space aliens.
Right.
It's fascinating. I think it's a great time to be alive and completely reinvent and rethink everything you do, mend the nets, compress the spring, and rethink who you are and what you want to be.
Give me an example of 3 large companies that you think are not going to come back from this.
Okay. So,
you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Just like that. Because I agree. The zombies, I think there was a lot of companies that had not really adapted to the new economy or the new way, and they were kind of teetering. And give me an example of 3, or at least 1 or 2.
Sure. I think gym and fitness world. So you know how long and how hard it is. So if you do business with a large fitness organization, first of all, no one's going there, right? And they're not going to want to pay. And typically the way they manage money, it's impossible to get out of their contracts, and they do ACH, which means they take money out of your account. There's no credit cards. Harder than hell to stop them. And that's going to build massive anger and resentment towards the organizations. And you think about the years, the decades it's taken to build their book of business. And some people are going to be like, I've been doing work at home. My trainer is working directly with me. Peloton, for example. I bought a Peloton a year and a half ago for my wife. I just worked out on it before I came here. Best damn gadget ever. And the ability
the
to work...
Peloton bike or the elliptical?
I've got the bike.
Yeah, because they wanted to sponsor me, Peloton, and
do half stock, half cash.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think it's going to go through the roof.
Really?
And I just read a report that
they did sponsor me for like some of my podcasts, but then I stopped having sponsors because I thought it was just I hate interrupting my show.
Well,
they did sponsor me.
How about we just talk about it?
Yeah.
And that integrate it.
Wait,
I mean,
tell
that's the
us
thing.
I want money for this spot because of this guy right now, or we're deleting it out.
And invest in the stock, because I heard a little rumor, actually, trying to think of who it was, read a report. He thinks they're the best wearable company and Apple should buy them.
Really?
Yeah. And if you think about, I think they're close to $1 billion in revenue-ish. Now, they're obviously spending a lot of money right now, but the way they think, their performers, they pay their athletes $500 an appearance, and they give them stock options. So they're grooming performers. And a lot of the people on there, the ones I follow, for example, I think it's Allie Love is one of them, background in dancing. And then there's another one who's a comedian. So Allie Love is one of the performers. And again, here's what I love about it. I mean, getting paid $500 a performance, that's pretty good money. And some of these folks, I mean, they do 2-3 a day and a couple times a week. They're making a decent living plus the upside, and they're being treated like performers. And I think right now, if you just think through the lens of what's the world shifted to, the president of the United States is an entertainer, okay? I've heard once before that politics is Hollywood for ugly people. Have you ever heard that saying before? Isn't that great? Yeah. But I think as we move forward, the opportunity to think as an entertainer. It doesn't matter who you are. The best CEOs are going to make the most. They're always charismatics. But now more than ever before, the opportunity to integrate channels and content and entertainment in any kind of a business and curate and cultivate that as well. This is a popularity contest economy that we live in.
So what you think, so a company like an Equinox, stay away, you'd say? Ugh. Out, right?
What's the point?
Okay.
You know?
Give me another industry now. What example?
Well, I think the automotive industry is pretty scary. The disruption that's going on there with what Tesla's done, and Tesla took a huge ride up, and then it's back down to some level of normalcy. But let's just face it. I mean, what are they going to do? Where's the innovation if they're not moving towards electric cars? So I think the entire transportation industry, think about how many people aren't using vehicles right now, and oil consumption. So I think thinking through this and looking through it, not through the short lens of just an automotive company, but the entire infrastructure of transportation. And a lot of people and a lot of companies are going to be like, I don't need to go back to that. Here's another one. Commercial real estate. Holy crap. I've talked to a number of executives, their leases are up. They may have been on 5-year leases and they're up right now. And they're like, all my people are working at home. They're happier. They're getting a lot done. We like working that way. They adapted very, very quickly. I'm not renewing my lease. And it's a big building. I think that's going to be catastrophic. So we got to rethink, what are we going to do with all of these buildings?
Interesting. So that's one I really haven't focused on. The ones that I
what's your perspective?
I think it's really interesting. If there's one that I think was the ultimate, like the straw that broke the camel's back, it's the movie business.
Oh yeah, but
the
this
whole
is
day
great.
Of tentpole releases, like, because I always said, how come I can't fucking watch it at my house?
Totally.
I want to watch it on my big screen TV.
Right. I'll pay $20.
I'll pay,
no problem. It's a good deal.
I'll pay whatever you want for the ticket. Let me watch it at home.
Right.
I'll pay $40. I don't. So to me, it was a stupid, almost a it was an irrational resistance because people that owners didn't. It was almost lobbyists stopping it from it happening. It had to happen. I think this just puts them over the top. AMC, I think, is teetering on bankruptcy right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand that, you have to look at also it's not just about streaming technology. It's not just that. It's the fact that we have better TVs and sound systems in our home. I can watch it with the same joy as a big screen TV in my 84-inch Samsung in my house. That's why I think.
So I'll give you 2 examples. So I just did an interview with, do you remember Yakov Smirnoff?
Of course.
Yeah, so he's a friend of mine.
Comedian.
I just did an interview with him on Saturday. He started a podcast, and he's got a theater in Branson, Missouri. So he's got his own theater. He's been performing. And he's like, well, what am I going to do next? And it's like, I'm going to do a show. And again, you look at Conan O'Brien, you look at Seth Meyers, you look at not Jonathan Stewart, who's the guy from John Oliver, okay? They're all shooting, they're performing at home using iPhones or not advanced technology. And I think
quality is just every bit as good for an iPhone.
It's a matter of thinking differently. It's being a soloist. It's working with an outsourced team instead of the huge studios. And I think that, again, is going to be a massive disruption. I'll give you another example. You know who J.P. Sears is?
No.
He's got long hair. He does really funny, kind of like anti-spiritual content. It's funny as hell. He's a really good performer. And he started doing stand-up at home. So he charges every Friday. He started selling tickets, and it's $10 to watch him. He performs live out of his house. He's got a couple people in his wife and a couple friends who are over, so they're social distancing or doing whatever the little thing is. And I better not say exactly how much money he made doing this, but it's a substantial amount per performance.
So now I've always wondered, the whole thing of free webinars, I'm saying, why just not charge for them? Mm-hmm. Why do a free webinar and have to sell things? Why not just say, webinar tonight, $9.95, one-time view, 1 hour? Yeah. It's like almost, is the time come to switch to that, you think?
I think you got to decide what industry you're in. Are you going to be in a wide and shallow business, or are you going to be narrow and deep? Now, I prefer, after being in the wide and shallow for a long time, just to explain this.
Explain wide and shallow. Explain.
So you've got both, okay? So wide and shallow would be like what you and I did and have done for a long time, is create a digital information product, and we'll do social content and ads to drive people to some sort of a free event, and then we'll sell a $2,000 or $5,000 digital product. And then the next level up will be to do some sort of a live event experience. It might be $5,000, $25,000. And then we might go to a coaching after that, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 to work with us directly.
Right.
And wide and shallow would mean that you're appealing to the masses. And you've got an escalating model where you'll go free to cheap to stair-step. And you might have 5 tiers along the way. Now,
basic ascension model.
Totally. Right. Now, I reached a point where I literally started, I didn't want to get out of bed no more. I didn't know what was wrong. I just felt dead inside a couple of years ago. And after being in the wide and shallow business, I was like, I got to get off this wheel. And what had happened is, the model was I had to create a product all the time, advertising, funnels, content, this never-ending cycle. And if you're in the event business, you usually have to plan ahead a year, put money down, you got your ass on the line, and if something goes wrong, you got to write out a check for $250,000 to get out from underneath something, plus all the deposits people have left. There's a lot of money at risk,
right?
A couple $1 million. And I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I just realized, it took me a little while to realize it, but I was like, I had outgrown who I was, what I did, why I did it, and who I did it for. And I was like, I want to work. I've had people in the audience before who'd be worth $100 million or $1 billion and say, I want to work with you. And I'd be like, well, you can pick digital, this event, or this thing, or this thing. And they go, no, I want to work with you. And I'll pay you $250,000 to work with you.
I've always done that.
Right.
That's always been my business, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, I want to work with you too, but I don't have the bandwidth. I'm too busy working in my business. And I made a decision that I was going to shut down everything and totally reinvent and go to this high ticket, what I call the narrow and deep model,
right,
which would be, there's free, so you can subscribe to my podcast, you can watch my content, and you can see me if I'm on a webinar or something like that. Or the minimum starting point is $50,000, all the way up to $250,000 to work with me for a year. So with 10 clients, you have a great multi-7-figure income, virtually no overhead. You pick the people you want to work with, genuinely like them. So I've got great relationships. We travel together. We'll go to Mexico together. We go to Paso Robles together. We drink wine together. Our wives get to know each other. And we make money right out of the chute. But it's so much more elegant and simple. Right. and you can turn on a dime. So when the virus hit, absolutely nothing changed. I liquidated everything. So my point is, bring this back to anyone. My recommendation is think about narrow, deep, and premium. You can be competition and recession proof if you build a brand. And you look at what you've done. I love your business model right now. It's just like you've been getting rid of the complexity, and you ebb and you flow. It's just your nature, you know.
Right.
You constantly reinvent yourself.
Right.
It is your superpower,
Right.
really. It's sort of like, what are you gonna do? You can't swat this guy. There's nothing you can do. He's Belfort, you know. You got the thing. People have to think that way.
This is a perfect time now to take a brief pause here, and I'm going to give everybody here a gift. I'm going to give everybody here free access to the introduction and the first training module to the formalized straight line certification program. This is a system that I sell for $5,000 here to individuals, to large corporations, medium-sized corporations as well, right? It's a very robust, interactive training with quizzes and exams. It's ultimately a diploma-based course that changes people's lives. But I figure what I'll do here is like 12 or 13 modules, but I'm going to give everybody, this is not one of those free things where I say, and you have to enter your credit card, and I hope you don't then forget to cancel. No. I'm talking really free. I'm going to just simply give you a link, and you sign up for it, and you get access to the introduction, then the first training module, which is the 5 core elements of the straight line, cracking the code for sales and influence. This alone will change your existence. Just understanding what has to go into getting someone to buy from you. And again, there's no obligation. You're not putting a credit card in. You have to just enter your information here. And then after you're done, once you've gone through this, if you want to keep going, then we can have a conversation about you picking up with the rest of the training. But this first part of it is free. My gift to you. All right. Let me give you the link. The link is jordanbelfort.com. Simple, right? /bonus. BONUS. So after you're done listening to this podcast, go to jordanbelfort.com/ that's a /bonus. BONUS. And you'll be on a page. You enter your information, and that will give you access to this incredibly robust training. You're going to get the introduction and the first module, which includes the quizzes, the exercises. And I promise you that when you're done with this first module, you are going to be blown away.
I think part of, for me is I always look at what's the highest value of my brand. What does it really represent? And for a long time, I've been sort of dabbling around. I always say I'm failing making $5 million a year or $10 million a year. Never thought I actually, found the highest level of my brand until recently, where I really thought that I'm sort of, and it really comes down to what's the biggest pain point in the marketplace that you're resolving. And for me, that was helping people
it's
actually
sales
find.
And people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But
the person side of the people. But let me go back to this, to industries, because I respect your opinion in this matter. So you're looking at movies.
Yeah.
Paradigm shift now, right?
Totally.
All right, people are going to be able to watch new releases. I still see they're resisting the urge with Marvel movies. They're holding them back still, right? And I wonder...
Yes, but Disney's got a subscription plan, and they're going to look at it, and
I wonder how long they do that for, right? When they try to release a Black Widow, and they have to have people sitting 6 feet apart in theaters, and all of a sudden the economics don't make sense. So it's going to be another... About restaurants.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a great story. I was actually talking to Jack Canfield.
Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And we did something, we called it Chicken Soup for the Quarantine Soul. So we did an online fundraiser last weekend. That's another thing that we've been dabbling in. We're doing online whiskey tastings. We've been doing online raves with DJs. And right now we've been doing it just as fundraisers, just giving money away and helping people in need. And we're doing the Chicken Soup for the Quarantine Soul. And Jack told the story about a restaurant and a clothing store. So the restaurant is premium and big chef, well-known, and they could do 40 people a night. And of course, the average ticket's probably $250 or whatever it is. And coronavirus hits. What are they going to do? So they start doing curbside. Now they're doing 60 full meals a night, same price, without the overhead. So again, how fast can you adapt? How fast can you reinvent? How fast can you communicate to your audience? And they're actually making more money. Here's another example. Clothing store, high-end, small boutique. So they had their usual clientele coming in, and within a week or so of the shutdown, they reached out to all their clients and said, there's no reason why you can't feel and look absolutely beautiful, even if you can't go out. So what we're going to do, we know what you look great in, we know your colors. We're going to create 3 choices, deliver them to your doorstep. You can try on whatever you want, keep whatever you want, and then you can set it out. Whatever you don't want, we'll come pick it up. Everything's going to be cleaned and disinfected, blah, 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 blah. No shift, right? They're doing just fine.
Right.
So this opportunity for mass personalization and customization and appifying. Again, I think in the grand scheme of things, again, there's going to be a whole bunch of zombie industries and a whole bunch of industries that are going to be damaged from this. I have no clue what the cruise industry is going to do, other than the fact a lot of them, if you just look at the resentment factor, they're all out of the country. They don't pay taxes.
Right.
And then they're looking for a bailout.
Right.
And they're going to get the, you know, maybe not. But who's going to want to, again, some people are just going to want to get drunk and sloshy in a big old tub, a virus tub. But
what are your thoughts on the strategy that the United States has adopted versus what Sweden's done? So, all the world has basically gone on this coronavirus lockdown.
Yeah.
While Sweden has bucked the trend. Are you aware of that?
I haven't seen specifically. No,
so
tell me what's going on.
Has simply said, you know what? No, we're not locking down the economy. We're going to stop gatherings of over 50 people. And we're going to let the kids go to school. Only one very small section of I think one chunk is closed down. It might have been primary school was closed, but, or the opposite was college. But basically, there is no lockdown. There's social distancing, but not really, not the way we have it. People are still together. They're out in restaurants, and their philosophy is that, hey, you know what? This is not the swine flu. It's not the Spanish flu of 1918. It's just not that.
No.
And people need to if they're going to get it, need to get it and get it over with. And I just don't think that locking down our economy, destroying it, is the way. What do you think?
All right. So I'll first say immediately, when this first came around, my immediate reaction was, I think it's BS. I think this is weaponized clickbait, and you always got to follow the money and you got to follow the power.
Yeah.
And I just saw something. So first of all, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I'm going to first say that.
Me too.
I don't think humanity is smart enough to maintain the lie on a long-term basis. And I had just heard, and I haven't verified this or fact-checked it, okay, that right now, anyone who may have been exposed to coronavirus, if you die, they say you die of coronavirus.
Correct.
And they've got like the
that's
it's an
dramatically
overwhelming,
exaggerating the number. Yes.
Totally.
Yes, they are.
And hospitals are getting tons of cash if you get put on a respirator.
Yes, of course.
So I believe that right now this is a massive cash grab opportunity to steal money from the government. It's the biggest wealth redistribution opportunity ever. And when a bunch of small businesses tank and big businesses, people with cash are going to be able to buy at a discount. And when the Fed prints out trillions of dollars, again, this is full-on socialism. It's under a different, instead of giving to the poor, you're giving to the rich. It really is. I mean, the bailouts that are going on, for small businesses to get the cash, it's tough. Now, again, it's a volume thing. But if you classify the military, for example, I'm not saying it's not a good investment at the end of the day, but it's another form of socialism. It's a different movement of cash. But this is unprecedented. So at the end of the day, I think that Trump has a lot of enemies. And we have a broken democracy on a lot of levels right now. And a lot of folks are messing around, getting free money and manipulating the numbers. And I think there's a big political game that's being played here. The Democrats are no better than Republicans. They're both psychopaths to the nth degree. If I were to choose a party, I'd be a libertarian full on. I think stuff that needs to die should die. And I don't think the government should be ever subsidizing anything. It's a bad idea.
Okay, so
did I answer your question sort of indirectly?
You did.
I think there's shenanigans afoot.
Okay, so I think the problem that a lot of people have is they don't understand that many things can be true at the same time.
Absolutely, man.
Coronavirus is real.
Yes.
Kills people.
Yep.
It's not some, I don't believe it was made in a lab. I don't believe it's, like, as you said, I don't believe people can keep any secrets that long.
No.
In the same way we didn't land, the moon landing wasn't done in a movie studio. I don't believe in conspiracy theories.
Oh,
right?
these flat earthers?
It's not where I live, right? Okay.
Totally.
That being said, something does not add up here. No. A lot of things don't add up. For example, the whole thesis of why you're locking down the economy is not to save lives. It's not that they're saying, hey, here's the deal. We think this is going to kill a lot of people, and we have to protect you. We have to keep you indoors so you don't catch coronavirus, because if you catch it, you're going to die. It's not what they're saying. What they're saying is, we need to make sure everyone catches it slowly over time so we don't overwhelm the healthcare system, because we can save people who would otherwise, if everyone gets it at once. So imagine there's going to be 2 million deaths in total. What they're saying is if we allow those 2 million deaths to occur over 24 months, then there'll be 2 million. If we don't allow them to occur over 24 months, they make them happen over 2 months, there'll be 2.5 million, because we'll run out of ventilators. We'll run out of, so they're not saying stay inside, don't catch it. They're saying we need to have an approach where people catch it over time.
Yeah.
So that's the logic. This is not about saying, hey, we have a vaccine around the corner, so we just wait 2 more months or a treatment. See, to me, there'd be some sense to this. Okay, listen, there's a treatment coming out, like we're 60 days away.
Yeah.
There's nothing coming out so fast here. These vaccines take a real long time. A lot of people hate vaccines to start, by the way, and look at that as its own issue. But the point is,
more nut
that
jobs.
What they're saying is that we're supposed to be that lockdown just so we don't overwhelm healthcare.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the unintended consequence is that 90% of the hospitals are freaking vacant right now. Doctors can no one's making money. All you have is a very tiny bit of isolated demand in New York City and a couple other places like Louisiana. So to me, the whole argument is flawed from the start. It's not about stay in, don't catch it. It's that everyone's got to catch it over time. So there's a phased approach for healthcare support. And now that negates the fact that, number one, we could have a mobile hit squad like they do now. If they could put up a hospital in 3 days and bring in the freaking Navy, the U.S. Navy, the boats, right, the big ships that come in, you can actually support the hot spots without locking. It doesn't make any sense. You don't have to lock down the world. If you want to lock down those most vulnerable, yes. Quarantines when you lock down sick people or people who are really vulnerable. You don't lock down the freaking healthy people.
Well, and that you just nailed it. So there's, I think, two big things at issue. One of them is the insidious side of this is I do believe there's a big power grab going on and a grab for cash. The second side is here's what they haven't explicitly talked about. From what again, who knows if all this data is accurate? We're all exposed to a whole lot of hoo-ha.
I believe it's wildly inflated.
I totally agree with that. And what I've understood is 80%. So they're trying not to turn this into a big race thing. And they'll say, well, this is affecting African Americans at 70 to 80%. If they took race out of it, the people who are being affected are obese smokers with lots and lots of comorbidity issues.
Right.
It's in poor areas, which is rampant with obesity, bad behavioral habits. Precisely.
And they're creating poverty.
And the downside of this, again, no one wants to say, let's see if we can make this a math problem. They're going to err on the side of doing the right thing, which is to protect lives.
I think Trump found himself in an impossible position because his people said, listen, you cannot go down as the president that let everyone die. And he was sold a bill of goods. I really believe he tried to resist it in the beginning. And then he was in an indefensible position to get reelected. Right. So once he got in...
And you can't be an inarticulate jackass bully and get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and his issue has to do with him getting in the way and being an inarticulate jackass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And there's no doubt, by the way, that his method of communication leaves something to be desired here. But also, this, I don't want to get into the political
That was not
side.
a political statement, by the way, because
it's a
at the end of the
it's
day...
an observable fact, but still. Yeah. But he's also being attacked to everything he does.
Totally. He can't win.
The guy
completely.
Can't win. But I guess the problem I'm having, though, with this whole thing is that I read a study out of MIT, and it was a direct relation between poverty and decreased life expectancy.
Yeah.
More poverty, shorter life expectancy.
Totally.
So the amount of people who are being forced below the poverty line, I don't even think we've begun to see the brunt of this thing yet.
You can't. Here's the thing. What, $1,200 getting a check?
What is that?
You're going to piss that away.
Exactly.
And here's another unfortunate statement. So let's just say everyone, the world got flat and everyone had the same amount of income and resources all at once. It'll take about 2 months to 2 years for all the entrepreneurs to have 80% and then 90% and 99% of the money, because behavior is behavior. You know, if you're poor, again, I think the beauty of America is the vision and promise of the American dream is that anyone can get ahead. The unfortunate reality is if you're stuck in a poverty cycle, it's virtually impossible. But some people do get out of it, right? You didn't come from money. I didn't come from money. But if you've got race, location, education counting against you, you're hosed. You know, and this is only going to make it worse.
The FBI agent that indicted Agent Coleman, his big thing when he investigates anything that might be a crime, he goes, if I want to know what's going on and who's doing what, I only have to do one thing, and it works every time. Follow the money.
Totally. Yep.
Follow who's
we opened up with that today.
The money.
Always.
Who's getting the money and who's it being taken away from, right?
Totally.
And so the whole issue here, for example, you look at the corona death rate. The good news is about coronavirus, it's cured the flu.
Yeah. Well,
no one dies of the flu anymore.
Well, they do though. The
flu corona though, but they call it now coronavirus.
Yes, and that's the danger.
They've hijacked the death certificates because they get more money. It's an unintended consequence, or maybe it was an intended consequence.
Look,
either way,
we know healthcare. Again, this is on a broader scale. So again, I'm gonna spin the positive, because the positive side of this circumstance, I think, innovation, creativity, co-creation, like what scientists are doing. Scientists are working across borders right now. They're collaborating more than ever before. And there's enormous benefits using AI and machine learning to examine and review, building massive databases, and the opportunity to create life-saving tools is unprecedented.
So,
and
you know, you're not okay. So I think you and I agree on a lot of things. I'm not a conspiracy person. I just don't believe. I think it's so hard to pull off conspiracies, right? Here's what
someone's going to tweet. They're going to get resentful and angry. There's always going to be a power struggle. It's the nature of man.
I don't get though. Why is everybody buying in? When I watch the traditional mainstream media, it's infuriating. Even the only person who I think has gotten this right is Tucker. Have you watched Tucker?
I haven't been watching him, so I avoid mainstream.
His reporting, in my opinion, has been close to impeccable. He's been down the middle, both sides. Really okay. Impeccable. Right. This guy. You got to check it out.
Yeah.
But the point is, why I get this whole it makes sense to me that if you're a Trump fan, you'd say, okay, the Democrats had no shot. They had a lame candidate. They had a booming economy. The only way to essentially to stop the conversation and change it was to create a crisis of such magnitude that all bets and crash the economy to stop Trump. So crash the economy to stop Trump. Fair enough. Let's say you believe that.
Yeah.
Why are they doing it in France? Why crash the economy in South Africa? Why in Argentina? Why is not everyone has a Donald Trump? So why everywhere? That's the question.
Well, so again, this is where we're going to fall off the edge of the conspiracy theory bandwagon. But the WHO was created decades ago, and from intellectuals who are historians and friends of mine, they think it's been an obsolete organization for a long time.
Like most of the United Nations
organizations. Rampant with corruption and self-protection and any kind of a political organization where you can, so think about, again, the nature of politics. I'll speak about America. So if you're a politician, you can insider trade. Right? You get away with it. You can find out about building going on, buy property, and you can trade, and you're essentially more or less immune. Now of course, there's people are creating, when that business about I can't remember, it was a senator, a state rep.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's enough
sold
outrage.
Some stocks before, yeah.
Right? Is it insider trading? But there's insidious stuff that happens inside. There are ways to pay off your buddies with massive government contracts and no bid contracts, et cetera, et cetera. And that's simply its payoff. And career politicians are dangerous and evil, in my opinion. Any kind of long-term, if you reach a point where you have what's it called in university when you can't get fired, tenure. I think there's certain benefits to it. I can see preserving intellectual capital, but in general, that kind of behavior is freaking disturbing.
Right.
You've got to stay on top, and what you did 10 or 20 years ago isn't relevant if you get lazy and sloppy.
Right. And
politics are crab pots. All the crabs are going to pull in. It's tallest poppy. It's dangerous. And I think what we're seeing right now, what I believe, and again, I don't have a solution. That's why I'm not a politician. But we need to recycle. We need new thinking. I mean, this system is broken. And I think, again, what we're seeing is a combination of all of this stuff roosting at the same time. And so, again, I don't have a solution aside from, I think capitalism needs to win. You got to give this to business and allow the free market and true capitalism to solve these problems. And why did the whole world buy into this thing? I think the WHO has a lot of power. They crafted the narrative, and they got enough people moving forward because no one knew what was going on. They just tapped into creating a narrative of total fear.
You think it's possible that they thought it was worse, that there were no bad intentions, that they thought it was worse than it was, turned out not to be nearly as bad as it was.
Maybe because we did all the right things.
No. I don't believe that for one fucking second.
Yeah.
Not even for a fucking second. In fact, this whole idea that the reason less people die now is because of social distancing, I think it's just fucking nonsense. Pure and utter nonsense. The models they created out there, the last set of models was going to be the low side was 100, the high side 2 at 240, was based on social distancing already baked in. That's it. So the fact that they were wrong, they've been wrong again and again, drastically wrong. The question is, was there bad intentions? Were they doing it as a power grab, as a money grab, or were they just plain wrong? Because I could totally forgive. Hey, if they just said, you know what, if Fauci came out and said, you know what, here's the deal. When we saw what was going on from the data that we had, we literally were worried this would be the Spanish flu of 1918.
Right.
And we had to do, it turned out, thankfully, we were wrong.
Yeah.
And now we need to open up this economy tomorrow because we were wrong. It's not people, people are going to die, but they're not saying that people are not going to die later. They're saying it's about overwhelming hospitals. That's not happening. It's just not happening. And if you can actually move resources to hot spots, which you can, at this point, we have enough logistical capability between the Comfort and whatever the other ship is, those two ships, the Mercy and Comfort, right? Those two ships, right? Plus the ability to put up hospitals in 3 days with the Army Corps of Engineers, move ventilators in a pandemic. It's not like you see this, the peak doesn't occur everywhere in the same day. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, I watched enough disaster movies. I love disaster movies. When I watch movies about whatever pandemic, whatever virus hits, it ain't like this. This is not what's happening right now. Is not reflective of a disaster. Like, people are not dropping dead in the streets. People who are mostly old, infirmed, have comorbidities, whatever the case is. But the study that I saw out of England, the first study was the one that scared the living shit out of everyone. It was from a guy in London, Neil something or other, in London, and I think it was out of Cambridge or Oxford, did a study that said that in the absence of intervention in the United States with no social distancing, 2 million plus were going to die. That was his initial thought, okay?
And where's his data and right?
No. Within a week, he said, sorry, oops, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
The lockdowns it was that initial study that created all these lockdowns. 2 million dead in the U.S., I believe 60 to 100,000 maybe 500,000 in the UK. It's a huge number. He immediately ratcheted that number down, and then ratcheted it down again. But like, no one ever reads the retraction in the paper.
Yeah,
all right.
Course,
And what he said was that not only would the number be in the U.S. about, I think, 40,000 dead, but I think 60% would have died anyway this year.
Which that consistently, my initial reaction when this first happened, and I actually created a document, and I decided not to post it socially. I'm glad I didn't, because I know I would have gotten a bunch of hate.
I came out and got hate mail. I aggressively came out.
Yeah.
And said I thought the whole thing was bullshit. Not that it's not real. Yeah. I'm not saying it's real, but I just think it's the stupid strategy. I think that, listen, people die every day. So they say, oh, well, but people don't. I said, people die in car accidents, of smoking. Yeah, but that's a choice. How about this? 40,000 people die each year of secondhand smoke.
Precisely.
Secondhand smoke.
Yep.
So we don't ban that and make people hide in their houses and smoke in their homes.
So here's the number. This was my outbound message that I wrote right when this hit. It was shortly after it came out of China, and I just said, look at the news, wow. I said the word of the day, week, month, and year is perspective. CDC estimates 56,000 people die from the flu or flu-like illness each year. Right now, what we're going to hear is anything, it's going to be called coronavirus, whether it is or not. We know that. 50,000 die from pneumonia. 1 out of 4 older adults will fall each year, and 30 million older adults fall each year, resulting in 30,000 deaths. Okay, just from falling, okay? Now, we aren't even talking about smoking yet. 90 people die in car accidents every day. 3 million in the U.S. alone are injured every year. 3,000 times are more likely to die in an accident than a terrorist attack. And the bottom line is, when you look at the true numbers here, significantly more people die of ignorance, okay? And right now, buying into the media, the hype, and the sensationalism.
How about this?
Is a greater danger to humanity.
Can I give you the ultimate number here?
Yeah.
How many people died?
I could just feel the hate brewing.
You ready? How many people in the United States simply died last year in the month of March? And how many died this year in the month of March? I'm going to guess a lot less people died this year. Less people died. You know why?
That's interesting. You don't have, because they weren't moving around.
Auto accidents.
Yeah.
The point is, even if you take away the auto accidents, if you normalize it for auto, just normalize it for auto, I am going to guess.
I can see this is a great campaign.
There is no.
The best way to save lives is to have a pandemic.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm going to guess there is literally no more than a 2 to 3% variation in death rate.
It's probably true.
At the most.
Yeah.
At the most.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're going to find that a lot, because of auto, certainly less people died. But I believe that this is, I'm going to say it, I'm going to look in the camera, I think this is the biggest fucking scam ever brought upon the developed world is the coronavirus and the fear mongering. Yes, it's real. Yes, it kills people, just like the flu, just like Ebola, just like the freaking measles, just like everything else. Let me just tell you something. This needed to run its course through the world because no one was saying, hey, we need to lock ourselves in until there's a cure. That's not the narrative.
No, that's true.
Suddenly when I hear things like, oh, Fauci says it'll never be normal till there's a vaccine. Shut the fuck up. What? So for one man to say, well, is this guy now in charge? Who elected him as president or chief dictator of my fucking civil rights? I'm starting to get really upset now because it's starting to get crazy. Because it's starting to get about identity cards for people who are immune and not. It's about the governor of this state telling me that I can't go. The governor of Michigan said you can't visit your friend's house. Did you hear that one?
Yeah.
They stopped the ability. You can no longer visit fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. How about that?
Welcome to America.
You're telling me that I can't go visit my friend's house? If my friend and me both agree that we're willing to take the risk to see each other, fuck you, Michigan governor. That is so. Now, this is no way this is enforceable in the Supreme Court. There is no way. These things are going to be challenged. They're going to be overturned. There's going to be a lot of shit in hell to pay for things I've seen here. For instance, there was a guy in California paddleboarding by himself out in the Pacific Ocean. Paddleboarding with no one within a quarter mile. And they arrested him with 2 officers on either side, put him in a police car. So now there's 3 in a police car and threw him into a jail or gave him a ticket.
Yeah.
So how is that against the law? Because this guy's out there on a fucking paddleboard.
Yeah.
The stuff that I'm seeing happening right now, there's a power grab, yes, but there's also a civil rights grab.
Yeah.
And give me fucking liberty or give me death, because it's starting to get crazy out there.
Yeah,
and it's not from a selfish perspective, Mike, because I'm going to be fine. And in fact, I'm not saying this because I'm worried about making money. So people say, oh, he just gives a fuck because he's a capitalist pig.
Yeah.
No, I value human life as much as you. But what's a life without liberty? What's a life if the government's breathing down your neck, telling what you can do and what you can't do? What's your life if the government's got to dole you out fucking money?
Right.
I don't understand this. This is not the United States of America. It's not the country I grew up in. Yeah, I can see how this works well in China or even Singapore, even though they're free, but they're used to that sort of totalitarian, very, heavy-handed government approach. That's not this country. This is the greatest country in the world. It's the greatest country in the world because it gives people the right to fucking choose.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
So I will say that I went out and bought myself a big-ass gun. When this came out, I grew up around guns in Minnesota, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go grab me one because who knows what's going to happen here. It was the first time that I was like, this is a little dangerous. So I totally agree with the notion that if you give up your liberty and your freedom, you deserve neither. And this is a dangerous precedent. You heard about what's going on in Hungary right now, too. Like, the leaders are power grabbing. And I do see that this is an opportunity to manipulate. And if there is a conspiracy, it has to do with power. And at the same time, so here's where I'm going to just say, like all the dumb kids down in Florida, all together on the beaches during spring break, that was dumb and dangerous, large groups. And based on the data we had, they're putting everyone potentially at risk, especially if you're going to hop on a jet after that. So the opportunity to spread through ignorance and dangerous, selfish behavior, I'd put that in a corner. What you're not talking about dangerous, selfish behavior. At the end of the day, individuals need to have individual rights and decide what to do. In that case, it's like it's out on the ocean. Responsible human being, there's no one around. It's nonsense, and we're not a bunch of sheep.
So let's talk about
it's not a decent way to treat human beings.
Yeah. So let's talk about Florida for a second. What happened there?
But
okay?
I do one more little thing,
please.
Which is there's a bunch of pastors putting a bunch of people in churches. And they're defying the orders. Mm-hmm. And then I remember seeing some data again, I didn't fact check it, so I'll just say based on what I observed, a whole bunch of people got sick and a bunch of people died. Now, should that pastor be held responsible for criminal manslaughter, for example? And there were people going in there. I'm protected by the blood of Christ and dear. So again, there's death by ignorance or by a charismatic leader causing and creating bad behavior. I don't know exactly where to draw the line here.
Let me tell you my opinion on this, because I have a very strong one, all right? I believe that it's rational to say, yes, we should limit large engagements of more than X number of people. That should be limited. However, I want to know why. No, let me
I'll give you a good reason why.
Finish my thought in a
All
second.
right, finish your thought.
None of this is about not catching coronavirus. None of this is about that. It's about catching it too soon. See, those people that died, they would have died anyway, because guess what? This is so contagious, unless people are going to stay inside forever, we're all eventually going to get it. So anyone that died would have died anyway, because they're not saying stay inside till there's a vaccine. If the narrative is, hey, listen, we're very close to a vaccine, we're very close to a treatment, so everyone stay inside for 90 more days, then I'd say no large groups. However, if the narratives, the only reason we don't want large groups is because the healthcare system will become overwhelmed, that has nothing to do with the people who died. They didn't die because they didn't have health care. They died from the virus. They would have died anyway. So they caught it today or in 3 months from now. Unless it's about a cure or a treatment, I don't buy into that. Now, I think logically it makes sense. Yeah, why, if there's a virus going on, why would you want to have large groups? Of course. So it makes sense. But think about it one more step. If it's that contagious, unless you can say, from this point forward, I shall live in thy bubble. What's the solution? The whole thing about not everyone, mass spreading events is only bad for one thing, because it'll potentially overwhelm the healthcare system. Because if there's no cure or treatment down the road and it's that contagious, what do we start living in fear our whole lives?
Right.
So what is the right answer?
Well,
you see my point, though?
I totally do. And I agree with the logic.
I'm being devil's advocate. I do agree there should be limits. I'm just saying, though, but think it through, though, another step.
Yeah. Here's another perspective, which is, so if your behavior causes a catastrophic incident and you wind up in the hospital because of that. So here's what I'll just say it. Do you think people should be held responsible and have to pay for services when they do something stupid and against the law, or should they get free services? Okay. So again, the assumption we're making here is if you get sick and it's because you were doing something that was against the law, not prohibited because you behaved irresponsibly, then what should happen? In my world...
So intentionally spreading the virus.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like, all right, well, you ought to be responsible for your behaviors. Right. Again, from a libertarian perspective, I believe in personal responsibility at the end of the day. It's like, I don't give a rat's ass who you love, who you have sex with, and who, all that kind of stuff. You want to dress up with ladies' clothing? Have at it. I don't want to pay for it.
Right.
I don't want to pay for your drugs or your conversions. It's not my responsibility. And in my world, I think there should be a limit of power. And that's really what we're talking about here on the grand scale of things. I happen to come from the perspective that smaller government with more opportunity for business to solve problems and be rewarded for it is a better move. And we're not talking about the exact same thing here. But again, through that lens...
Or intervention in your life by the government.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so what we have is a precedent. This is in some ways, like I said it earlier, this is as if we were being attacked by aliens. It's a true opportunity for all of humanity to band together to solve one of the biggest crises, even if it's not all real, and work together and economically benefit from it. And that's the lens I like to look at this through, versus what's being taken from me, I look at it and go, what a freaking amazing opportunity because someone is going to emerge as one of the greatest leaders ever. And again, who's it going to be?
Do you think, let me ask you a question, does it surprise you?
Same with industry.
Does it surprise you how quickly people fell into line with this?
It's unfreaking believable. I think we're going to look back. Think about the music that may come out of this, the movies. How about birth rates? Birth rates are probably going to explode. This could solve
baby
some
boom.
of the, totally another baby boom. The coronavirus boom. And again, if you dive into a little conspiracy, I don't know how much Russia's behind some of the social manipulation that's going on. Are social media companies dangerous? I think Facebook is evil. I think Instagram is as well, and we've heard about WhatsApp. So from a social manipulation perspective, from a persuasion, holy crap, I'd like to go down that rabbit hole with you. Let's just look at group manipulation here.
Why do you think so? Okay, so when this first hit, I came out really vocally against the whole thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw in my videos, but they were really severe. And I put out
what was the hate support ratio in terms of
50-50.
comments and all that? Okay,
50-50,
of course.
split down the middle, 50-50. I had some people, like, for instance, like a friend of mine, Ben Baller, Ben, who disagreed with me, but in a really classy way. And we had a great debate about it. And I love that. I thought it was great. When you have a guy who says, hey, I don't agree with you. I think you got this wrong. Here's my reasons why. And then there's others like, you are the biggest asshole. Stick to what you know. I used to follow you. I'll never follow you again.
I want marketing, free money.
Yeah,
you jackass.
That's it. I never ever. Take it from a guy who broke the law. People stupid shit. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I came out really strongly in the vein that I believe that unless there's something that I'm not getting, unless I'm missing something, unless this is far deadlier than they're saying, it doesn't add up. Because I saw early on, it didn't have the earmarks of like a Spanish influenza. I was watching it closely. Yeah. My daughter caught it really early. So my daughter got it, was one of the first people in New York very early.
Yep.
And her fiance got it.
Vivian's mom is in Queens now, right across from where you grew up. So in Rego Park.
Yeah.
87 years old, holed up in her apartment now.
So I was really, looking at the data, and it wasn't adding up. In the face of everything I'd seen in the past, I have a biochem degree, so I'm totally into the whole biology. I understand viruses. It just wasn't adding up because it was never about let's stay inside and wait for the cure. Mm-hmm. It was never about that. It was stay inside and wait until we don't overwhelm healthcare institutions. So at the beginning, I was like, I don't see that happening. And then I watched it, just never came to pass.
It's very rarely that this is about what it appears to be. So I'll give you a economic theory that I saw recently. It's kind of fascinating. So right now, we've got a big pissing match going on with China. And India was talking about suing China in the world court over this thing and looking for some sort of restitution. So what if Trump just said, you know what? You heard us too. Oh, yeah, exactly. Cancel out everything we owe you. I mean, what if there's...
that, by the way, that would explain a lot.
It totally would. Follow the money. Look at the oil.
So that would explain some of this, right? A rebalancing of world debt and blaming China.
Totally.
China's nuclear power, though. I don't see how you cancel out the debt because
then they're triple screwed.
Well, here's the thing, though. Remember this: the United States, the reason they can keep printing money is because they never default. They never. So you have,
and I guess the world uses U.S.
I guess the guise
dollars.
of this you use is not a cancellation. It's you win a lawsuit or you settle a lawsuit.
Yeah. And the one thing
rebalances trade.
When you talk about Trump is he really understands bully politics. He knows how to go in there and see things his way. And in that case, he'd be a formidable foe. And obviously, I mean, he can create a reason for anything. It doesn't even have to make sense, and rarely does. But he's going to win the argument, right? And so, again, I like to just kind of push this aside and say, okay, what are the real players here? Thank God you and I are in a position where we've got some wealth to ride this out, and a lot of people don't. And like, this could be an unprecedented moment for this country to say, okay, so we're printing out trillions of dollars. There's a whole bunch of people out of work. What a great time to rebuild our roads, our bridges, our infrastructure, and do it right, and hold the organizations who do the work accountable. Create a new level of accountability. Appify labor. That would be a freaking amazing byproduct of this. Again, look at the science and the collaboration and the resources that are coming out of this. I think trillion-dollar companies are going to emerge as a result of this.
What do you think about the whole, movement towards the Zoom and online learning? What do you think about that?
Well, so I've been doing it forever. I started broadcasting live in 2007, where we were using Ustream and selling. That's when we started doing those huge launches, for example. And I've always been a big proponent of any of this. My son, who's 17, he's going to school right now over Zoom. And, we're all doing it. I think for one thing, on Zoom's behalf, the fact that they've 10x'd their membership, their subscription, their usage, the technology behind this is freaking amazing. The cloud just kicked in, scaled immediately. I think they're probably using Amazon as their back-end infrastructure. I think it's awesome. It's forcing people to communicate. Everyone's bridged together. Think of if this would have happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, without mobile phones, then there'd really be a shit show.
You know what I think the biggest problem with let's talk about distance persuasion, distance selling.
Oh, yeah.
Biggest problem with Zoom right now is the cameras are in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
The camera needs to be in the phone so you can talk to someone into their eyes and look at them. So when you and I are talking, this is a huge problem with the design of phones.
They're looking over here.
You're looking up at the lens. If you want to look at someone in the eye, you can't see them at the same time. It's a huge problem right now.
Yeah.
And this is why people have a lot of problems communicating over the telephone because you cannot look at someone you can't either look them in the eye and get your point across and gauging their reaction at the same time. This has got to change.
Yeah. So from a design perspective, I agree. Now, one thing that I did this deal, and we can put it in the liner notes. I did this video. I called it 25 Strategies to Make Your Zoom Meetings and Webinars Awesome. And I went over everything you can do with technology, like where to look. And one of them is just drag your windows up right below the camera. And like I have...
It's a huge issue.
It is. It's unbelievable. And people who are wealth coaches and they live in a dump, or noise. Like there's a little plugin you can install. It's called Krisp.ai, KRISP. Gets rid of dog noises, kids screaming, background noises. You can be in a coffee shop. It filters that out. It's got AI that listens to noise that's not your voice. Cuts it out just like that. It's cheap.
Really?
Yeah.
What about, is there any apps right there now to make up for this camera issue or no?
Yeah, there is. There are 2 virtual webcam drivers that'll turn your phone into a high quality webcam. And then what I do is let's say this is my lens, right? If I put this so my screen is right here, it ends right here. So in other words, if I put my camera screen here and then I'd slide my video window so I'm looking at the lens. Part of the thing is if you're just a little bit away, about this far away, always have your camera above eye level so it gives you an instant diet. But it makes you look better. I mean, some of this is simple. Get a Shoji screen.
I'm talking about like the ability to look someone in the eye when you talk to them and see them too. Right now, if you want to look someone in the eye, you're looking up at
You do. So what I know Apple and a couple other manufacturers have been working on is actually putting a camera right behind the screen.
That's what has to happen.
Yeah. And part of the problem is people do crotch cam. They've got their laptops in their lap, which makes them look fat and gross. And always got to have the lens up. So yes, this is an innovation opportunity. No one that I know of has it. I think it'd be a great idea to create a secondary screen, stick the camera right in the middle, and have a little animated
like a pinpoint
dot.
camera, like right in the middle of the thing, like an extension that just goes down, right? So you can eye-to-eye contact. It's huge.
Great idea. I think the issue is the lighting, and there's going to be some distortion. But some physicist or scientist, materials guy probably knows. They're like, that's a good idea.
What do you think? What do you think about the average entrepreneur or just salesperson watching, listening to this right now, do you think there's a set of steps that you can go through? Like, okay, step one, analyze your business. Step two,
yes.
What's the steps right now to modernize and adapt?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would do, and I've been telling everyone I work with doing this, I'd take your entire database of clients and customers, sort it by quantity of transaction, frequency of transaction, and recency, and then volume. And what I'd do is I'd look at your top 2% and top 20% of your clients, and I'd start talking to them right now. Get them on the phone, create some one-on-ones. I'd schedule Zooms or phone, doesn't matter what it is, and just talk to them and have what one of my friends, Dan Sullivan, calls a DOS conversation. Dangers, opportunities, strengths. So what are the things you're most afraid of that you're facing right now, your struggles? And look, not everyone has the same things, right? What opportunities do you see that you could be taking advantage of right now that are that you're not taking advantage for some reason? And what are your greatest strengths and powers? And from that, if you have a conversation with 3 to 10 clients, you're going to just see a pattern emerge, and you'll be able to craft an offer as a result of that. Step 2, I would craft an offer that is 3 to 5 times higher priced. I'd actually create a premium offer in a time like this. So if you're struggling with infrastructure and income, don't cut your prices, don't do low end, go high end, and focus on your highest end clients. And that's
an interesting point. So you're saying don't go the discount route now.
Absolutely not. Yep. And so I started
less clients, higher price clients.
That's right. Higher net, fewer delivery challenges. And this will work in any industry. And if I were in a physical delivery, I would find ways of creating training or certification programs to help my clients consume and use and profit from the programs and services even better. So charge a premium for personalization, especially while you're going through this. And what always happens, think about it, anytime you're engaged in interacting with a great client, they're going to say, why can't I have this? Could you add this too? They're going to help you innovate. So create partnerships with your clients and co-create with them. And they're going to be your best marketers. Mm-hmm. They're going to help you with your messaging. All you got to do is say, tell me about the experience you had. They're going to write your marketing for you. And as soon as you've prototyped it, a couple weeks later, roll out that new program and product. And right now, one of the things that I've been doing, and I recommend everyone does it, is get inside LinkedIn and start creating connections in leads inside there and deliver value content. Little simple things based on what you're learning from these conversations. So like,
for example,
here's the first thing that I did. As soon as I saw all this Zoom stuff, I created that video I told you about, the 25 strategies to make your Zoom meetings and webinars better. And at the end, I had a little video that I said, hey, if you want to hear how you can use video and simplify and grow your business, check out this other video. So I had an assistant just go out and copy paste, send this thing out. Thing got 2,000 views in the first week, but they're right fit people. And they're like, God, everyone on my team needs this, because everyone has the same thing. They're going to Zoom meetings. They suck. They're boring. People look like hell. They're very not brand representative, and there's noise and racket. It's just like, but they don't know.
Right.
And because of that, I have 4 $250,000 opportunities have come from just giving away a video like that. So I think solve the problem, talk to people. This is the time to create conversations. That's the net. And use video.
Any particular industries outside, obviously online learning, right?
Yeah.
Delivery, service. What anything that's like not so obvious that you think is going to be some real big pickups here, like this, reshuffling of behavior, of demand, of everything, perspective. It's just a really, as you said, it's like an Armageddon.
Totally.
Yeah, situation where it's going to be shifts in behavior for sure.
Right. So right now, everything's on sale. Everything's on sale. I think the opportunity to buy your competitors and buy other businesses is huge. So I'd look at it, this is a growth opportunity, a partnership opportunity, and you could probably do it without cash. Another one, or very little cash. Industries that I'm focused on right now are financial advisors, people in the financial world. If you're smart and you've got some money, you want to put it in the market. Now, it might you got to play the long game here. It might take 2 years for it to bounce back. But here's the thing. We're printing out trillions of dollars right now and giving it away. Cash value is going to be less soon. And where are people going to put it? Real estate, I think, well, let's see if there's going to be demand for that, but I don't think that's a smart place to put money right now.
No, I mean, I think
you could probably get a good deal.
I think commercial is going to be disastrous, as you said. I agree. I think residential is going to be very challenging too. I really do.
Right on, especially now especially people who don't have any money and don't have jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. And food. So I think small farming. So big farms. I just heard yesterday the largest pork producer in the United States is shut down. Totally.
Coronavirus.
Massive. Okay, the supply chains are screwed. Okay, the time it's going to take to get stuff started again, it's triple whatever anyone's going to estimate, because the downside, everyone's screwed right now. Feed, manufacturing, processing, distribution. And so I think anything in survival, grow your own food, small plot, certainly education and virtualization, the opportunity to work with businesses and say, all right, you saw what happened this time, we're going to come in and virtualize. So coaching and consulting and advising, huge opportunity. But I'm thinking about consolidation right now. But anyone in the money industry should be doing really well. I would be going out and asking my best clients to double down. You'll never get in this cheap again.
What's next for you now? Next 5 years? Just more of the same, or?
Yeah. So I loved, you and me we love entertainment. Okay. So I did a TV show called Elevator Pitch for Entrepreneur, and I was on there for a season. I loved it. They asked me back. I love TV, man. And I'd love to do more shows. Podcasts, obviously, great way to communicate. And then now I've been doing equity. So I walk in, I help someone reinvent themselves, work on their branding and their messaging. And then I do a little equity also. Sometimes it's an investment, sometimes it's sweat. Again, fewer, deeper, and premium. Shallow's free for me. I'm good doing this kind of thing, creating the opportunity, but I want partnership. I want deep connections. And my rule is I only work with people I love on businesses I love or can fall in love with. Still have a love affair with software. I invested in a LinkedIn automation company, and that's freaking cool. Anything with AI. So, this has been a little time to think and compress or decompress and, connect with people I really care about. This is a blast. Love doing shows.
Sounds good.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys, everyone listen. Another awesome episode of The Wolf's Den. Stay tuned for more. I'm thinking about going back to 2 a week. We'll see. Got a little extra time in my hands right now, but hopefully we'll all be back to work very soon. And remember this, I'm already working every day. Just think about it. If you're not working right now, how much of it is an excuse? You can still be productive. You can still stay in shape, make gains on your body. You can tread water financially or actually get ahead in business. Nothing has to stop. Remember, you're not a creature of circumstance. You're a creator of circumstance, all right? Share this with your friends, subscribe, and we'll talk again soon.